Hi, today we're making Tamales Verdes, and I have to tell you, clearly there are many ways that you can make tamales. I learned how to make tamales originally from my friend Sandra, and then I went to Mexico on a visit to see my in-laws and watched my mother-in-law prepare it, and coincidentally, very similar ways of preparing it. So today I'm going to show you how to make these. Now the first thing I want to tell you is, yes, this is a little time consuming. Is it hard? No. So any misconceptions you have about this being difficult, this is not difficult. This is just a little time consuming. But it is one of those things that once you get it on, it's just going to be there steaming away for a couple hours. So you can kind of leave it and just check it occasionally. So the first thing we're going to do, I have some bell pepper here. I've got some half rings of onion. That's about a half of it, well, about a third of an onion that's ringed up. I've got some cilantro. I've got 2 cloves of garlic, and they're pretty good size, and 2 cubes of Maggie the chicken. No, this is not Maggie the chicken tomato. These are just chicken bouillon. And we're going to take this over here to, I've got some boiling water, and I'm just going to drop these down into my water. And my cubes, my 2. Now the reason I use the cubes, they're just going to add a little bit more flavor, and I want this to be a flavorful broth that I'm creating here. What I'm going to do, I have 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. Now some people like to use the thigh, and it's just kind of a personal preference. You can use any piece that you want of the chicken. In fact, if you want to skip this step altogether because you want to do a quicker version, then you would go down and get a rotisserie chicken. I tell you about those. Those are great. You could eliminate this step, and we could just move on to the second step if you're in a hurry. But this is the way it's traditionally done. So I've got 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of chicken breast. So I'm just going to put those in my water. I actually use boneless or bone-in. The bone-in with the skin on obviously is going to add more flavor, but I'm all about not sending you off to the grocery store if you don't have to go. So keep in mind what you already have, and if this is something you already have all the ingredients for, don't run off to the store just so you can get the chicken with the bone-in. Anyway, so we're going to let that boil. Big tip here. You need to watch your meat because you don't want to overboil your chicken. You only want it to boil until it's cooked through. If you overboil it and start letting it cook too long, then it's going to become dry and wiry, and it's not going to taste good. I have some tomatillos, and I was laughing when I was peeling the paper lining off of these because these tomatillos are like on steroids. They're huge. So depending upon what your tomatillos look like is going to depend on how many you use. Now, I am so into eyeballing things that this has been the biggest challenge for me when I've been teaching people, is that I actually have to think about how much I'm using, because this is one of those things where I watched somebody else do it, and that's how I learned, and so then everything is just kind of like eyeballing it. So I've got, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 13, but about 5 of those are like double the size of a normal tomatillo. I've got some water boiling over here, and I'm going to drop those down into my boiling water. And I've got about 4 serrano chilies, and we're going to get those boiling. The next thing I'm going to do, I've got a tea kettle that's full of boiling water, and I've got all my tamale wraps here, my corn husks. Now, you can find these in the international food section in most grocery stores these days, but if you're having troubles, or if you live in a place that's not very highly populated with Mexicans, then you're not going to probably be able to find them, and then you'll have to look online. But you can easily Google search it, corn husks, and you could order them and have them delivered to you. So people like to do this step different ways. Some people like to steam them. I found that this works great. Those are ready. So let me... And you can see the color that they are. They were a bright lime green, and now they're a darker color green. We're going to drop that into our blender. I also have about 1/3 of an onion, 2 cloves of garlic, and some cilantro. And we're going to put the lid on, and some salt. Let me get my salt. We're going to blend that up. Okay, we're going to just give that a quick taste. Needs another one. Let me drop that in, blend it back up some more. Okay, I ended up putting in 1 more, so we put 3 chilies in there. So that's our sauce. The next step, I've got my chicken, and I've taken it out of the water, and I'm going to shred my chicken. So I'm going to sit that on the side for a second, and we're going to move on to the next step. Here, this is the tamale cornmeal mix, and we're going to do 4 cups of this. Now, I recognize that there aren't a lot of people that have KitchenAids. I have not always had a KitchenAid. I use my KitchenAid because it makes it a little bit faster. But if you don't have one, you just put this in a bowl and you do this by hand. That's the way I learned how to do it. So we're going to do 4 cups, I told you, 4 cups of the Maseca mix. I've got 2 teaspoons of baking powder that I'm adding to that, and about a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to start my thing just kind of going a little bit on low. I'm going to have to talk over it so you can hear me. Now this is where we get to the broth I was telling you about at the beginning. We're going to do 4 cups of that delicious broth that we had our chicken boiling in. And you know, don't be afraid if you get a little piece of onion or a little piece of the good flavors that we put in there, because that's just going to make your dough even better. I also used some vegetable shortening, and I know I'm really bad, I eyeball this, but this is about 2/3 of a cup of vegetable shortening. Now, I'm going to break every rule, and you're probably going to email me and tell me all these crazy things. But I actually do half and half shortening and butter. And I tried that once, and I liked it so much because it made it a little bit more flavorful and a little creamier. It just turned out wonderful. My husband didn't even know the difference, and so I just started doing that. So 2/3 cup butter, not margarine, and 2/3 cup shortening. Alright, this is where the eyeballing comes in that I was telling you about. I'm going to add a little bit more of my broth because I feel like I want it to be a little bit wetter. And then we're going to get it going again. The final steps, getting close to assembling here. I've shredded up my chicken. I think my music's a little loud. Do you want to turn that down? We don't have to turn it off, just turn it down. Anyways, about 2 pounds of chicken, remember, we've shredded it. And I'm just going to take it, I'm going to put it in this bowl. It's all nice and shredded. It's very hard for me to cook without listening to music. And because there was so many steps to this, I didn't have my music on before, but I just always have to have music playing when I'm cooking. Okay, here's our sauce that we did earlier. We're going to pour that right in. And then I'm just going to stir my chicken into my sauce. And as this sits here, it will start to absorb up the liquid.